All right, welcome back. It is live from Drew's house, another edition. My name is Drew Moholland. Sarah Conway, my wife, here joining me again today. Hope everybody's doing okay out there. Another week in quarantine. Coffee mugs are out. Musician on the show. I tend to go with my Beatles mug when we get the musician on. Sarah with her big S mug again. She yelled at me because she wanted the Drew and the D and the S mug today, and I kind of failed. But musician on. I got to get the Beatles mug on.
I thought we would have our matching mugs for once.
We'll do that someday. That will happen. I promise.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. I got rid of the quarantine beard, huh? Well, I mean, I still have a beard, but I, cleaned
it. Was time.
Cleaned it up. It was getting crazy.
That was crazy.
Somebody at work the other day referred to me as I could be an actor in the Braveheart film. I heard a little
Castaway.
Yeah, it was you. So Castaway. I got a little Game of Thrones. What was it? The Wildlings.
Oh yeah, the Wildlings.
Yeah. So yeah, I was getting a lot of that, and I said, you know what? Probably time to clean it up a little bit. So still got the long hair. It's a battle to deal with long hair.
You're not going to cut it. I'm not going to cut it. So
I know.
Who's going to do it?
I don't mind the hair as much, but the beard got tough. The beard was like just long and thick, and it starts to do its own thing. I lost control. When
you posted the last video for this, I thought it looked really out of control.
Yeah. Well, okay. So here we are. I feel like I'm looking 20 years younger now. Maybe that's a stretch. But how's the week been? Good?
It's been good.
Yeah.
Yep. Nothing new and exciting to report.
Hanging around. This is a good time. The dogs are actually quiet. They've been they've been getting spoiled here. We've been getting them out quite a bit.
I think they're finally tired.
I think they're both happy we're here, don't you?
No.
No.
I think at least Henry would prefer that we go to work.
Yeah.
He's sick of us.
Henry, the oldest dog, is, you're here all day. So I think he's looking at you like it's time to go now, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know. What can you say? Mookie's very excited. Mookie's the puppy. He's just looking to run and play and do whatever with us. So Mookie's the one that makes the more appearances on the show. They're both napping right now, which I'm very happy about. They're kind of snuggling together. So I'm thinking we can get through one show without interruption, which would be good. But
let's see.
How's the Zoom teaching going with you?
Oh, we're on vacation. We were on vacation.
Oh yeah, they had April vacation?
Yeah.
That seems like something you probably didn't need.
No, probably not. But we have vacation, so we'll get back into it.
I know you skipped one of the last shows. Did we have this conversation yet about just your thoughts on school canceled?
Oh, school being canceled for the rest of the year?
Yeah.
I think everyone it wasn't a surprise at all. Everyone kind of knew it was coming. So I was prepared for it to be for the rest of the year. And now we're just hoping that we will still have summer school. That would be really great.
And the remote learning continues, right? Yes. Everywhere. It's funny. I did see one New Hampshire school district, and they sent out a press release, and it was pretty priceless. Like they said, you know what, we're even going to cancel the remote learning because they said it's just families are struggling too much, and even the teachers are struggling to do it on the fly like this, and it's just kind of becoming a mess. We were talking in the newsroom. It was like, you know what, we give up at least for a few months.
It's hard. I mean, there's so many parents who are working from home, and it's a different situation in every home. So some kids are doing more, other kids are not doing anything at all. It's all over the place. So it's hard.
So that's the deal on the school front, folks. And our guest today is Jay Psaros. He's a musician from the South Shore who I've known for a while. He was on our show about a year and a half ago, and came on. He's one of those guys I didn't really know too well at the time. He comes on my show and just blew me away. Played like a 5-6 song set and was just fantastic. We kind of do that tiny desk concert feel on our normal shows, and he was just unbelievable. Voice like you wouldn't believe. I know you've heard him now, Sarah, several times. He's been doing a lot of streaming, and I know you were kind of blown away too.
Yeah, I think he's very talented.
And meet Jay Psaros here in just a moment. What do you say we bring him in?
Sounds good.
All right, Jay Psaros is our guest. He second time on the show. Jay, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
Good. What a big room you are in there. Where is that home? Is that that's a big recording space. Jeez.
It is. So it's actually my wife and I. She's a photographer and a videographer. So before all this is, we do a lot of booking and musician services, and business was going great. Everything was growing, and getting a studio is something that we've talked about for years. And finally we were at a place where we're like, man, like let's do it. Let's go rent a studio space. And this is actually a 200-plus-year-old building. And there's on downstairs on the other side, there's a 150-person venue attached to it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's all historical buildings. So I don't know if you've seen some of like the Instagram videos I've been doing in that big wooden with the old floors. That's it. It just sounds spectacular. So of course we were looking at this after the holidays, and we signed the lease and everything in February, knowing that we'd be moving in April or in March. And then coronavirus hits. Yeah. And so it was definitely like, oh man, what are we going to do now? Because we can't have any people in here. So it's been interesting. I knew it would either be a huge burden or a saving grace, and it's kind of been both. Just the financial aspect has been, all right, how do we do this when we can't bring clients into our building? But the good side was I was able to set up some really good streams. Yeah. And those streams I was able to do pretty well to carry us over. And now after almost 2 months, it seems like the little guys, the 1099 gig workers, are going to start getting a little help. So it's been nice. I've been kind of enjoying my time here. And in a strange way, as you know, whenever you get new audio systems installed and everything, it's been taking a little bit to feel the room and get it all set up and everything.
Sarah's been teaching her kids, so she's been kind of laughing at me as I walk my way through some of this stuff. She's well versed.
It's nuts. It's like I never expected, I knew this stuff was all out there and it could be cool to use, but I never expected that like one day we would rely on it. Not only so heavily, but so quickly.
Right. Yeah.
And everyone, if you wanted to stand a chance at going forward through this, you really needed to kind of act fast. Like you couldn't be lazy. There was no like, oh, I'll figure it out next week. It was like, this is changing now. And so it was a little weird,
We speaking of the streaming you've been doing, which I know I've seen some of it in that room. The streaming stuff has been really good. I know you'd much rather be playing to big audiences, but you're one of the ones that's really putting the timing on the streams and the time in on the streaming. And we were watching, I think it was one Friday night. You did a live stream from the brew house, right? Or brew house down there?
I did, yeah. So it's actually my family. Another funny thing, this past year, my family and a couple like partners went in and bought this restaurant, a bar, Union Brew House. I don't know if you guys ever been down here. It's a great spot.
We are North Shore people. So right. Where are you coming from right now?
From Situate.
Situate, okay.
Yeah, but I live in Weymouth, and Brew House is in Weymouth.
Okay.
And of course, for them too, to just be getting the flow of this restaurant, because they've never run a restaurant or a bar before. And the poor employees of this place, because of course, before the previous owner sold the restaurant, they shut it down for a few months before they sold it. Yeah. And then, so they finally get new owners, they finally get their jobs back, they start working again, and 4 months into working again, boom, shut down. Yeah. So I was like, this is a good opportunity to do something positive. And the streaming thing's weird. It's like, there's only so many times in a certain time period that you can reach out to your fan and friend and family base and ask for help. Yeah. And especially that's the beauty about touring. When you tour, it's different audiences. Yeah. And, maybe someone new from here will grab a hold, but when you stream, it's pretty much whoever is already like tuned into what you're doing.
Yes.
So for me, it made sense because I can do it. I have the resources to do this. And we ended up raising about $1,000 for him, which is great. So I think there's like 8 employees there. And, even at a time like this, just $100 in your pocket is a help.
Helps you with the grocery shopping, or something like that. It's great.
Dude, it's crazy. It's just everything we went to the grocery store yesterday, a couple of days ago, and to buy flour. And there's like no flour left. Like the strangest things are just gone. And the flour that was there, like they had a gluten-free one, but it's just so much more expensive. And it's just, it's very strange, very weird climate to existent.
It certainly is. Well, the streams are going great. We settled in that night, I remember, and apparently Sarah had not watched the first appearance on your show with me.
Yeah.
Which, unfortunately, it's pretty common. She doesn't always.
Yeah.
She doesn't always predict. But she, was like, "Oh, Jay's on. Let's tune in." And immediately she goes, "Ooh, I like that one. Ooh, who's that? Okay."
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, she was kind of struck. She liked you a lot. So, what do you think? Want to let the people hear one from you here?
Yeah, man, let's do it. This one, so I this is the newest one of these quarantine tunes that I've been kind of pumping out. It's normally done on a baritone guitar, but let's give it a go.
Cool. And we're gonna try do this because Jay's got the equipment to do it. I know some of these the music shows when you try, and I've said that maybe we just kind of do the interviews, but Jay is very look at that setup. He's ready to go. We're gonna trust Jay with this one. Take it away.
All right, it sounds like music over there.
Music.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, I'm sorry to tell you something I must say. Don't lay down your love, don't let me away. Everything I do and every single day, there's something you should know, there's something I should say. There's something you should know, there's something I should say. Well, under my bed there's a monster I see, coming out at 3 a.m., coming after me. Everything I am and with everything I be, there's a ghost in my head, there's a monster in me. There's a ghost in my head, there's a monster in me. Maybe someday we'll be living from the inside. Maybe someday we can find out what it is or what it was while I'm living in my mind. Yeah, inside my head there's someone you should know. They ain't quite a friend, they ain't quite a foe. Everywhere I am and wherever I may go, there's someone I don't trust, there's someone I don't know, there's someone I don't trust, someone I don't know. Maybe someday we'll be living from the inside. Maybe someday we can find out what it is or what it was. Why am I living in my mind? When it may seem I found a way around, love still remains. 'Cause in between my minds I've settled down. Maybe someday we'll be living from the inside. Maybe someday we can find out what it is or what it was. Why am I living in my mind?
All right.
Thank you.
Well
guys.
done.
It's funny, you don't get to road test these songs, so it's like for me, every music's different. Like, I'm not the type of guy that can write a song and then take it from right to a stage.
Yeah.
And like some guys can. They're like, I wrote this yesterday, I play it for the audience, but I need to like try it out and kind of play it at a little bar first and mess up when no one's listening, and then maybe take it to like a smaller room. Like there's kind of like these stages that I try and work them up. And what's been really frightening for me about this whole situation is I'm having to do that like live streamed now.
Yeah.
And it's just so weird because you can't feel what's coming back at you. And sometimes like your fingers don't work, and live streams aren't as forgiving as a crowded bar.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a weird thing, but it's cool. I'm starting to enjoy it more and more. And the more like everyone, like, this is great. It was nice to have applause.
A little audience feedback.
I was like, oh man, what the hell is that?
I take it your wife is the small demo room here quite a bit these days.
Yeah, well, when this first started, she like got a call too. She's like, all right, no work, unpaid 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And this is like the same time that I lost all the gigs. So we're kind of looking at each other like, and then we started applying for all the government stuff. And I applied for the Paycheck Protection Program because my business, which books so many musicians, would be a prime candidate for that. Nothing. I applied for EIDL, nothing. I haven't even like heard back.
Yeah.
And then of course they made 1099 workers wait until like last week to apply. So I'm lucky. I mean, we have family and friends and people we can fall back on if something gets really hard. But I mean, there's a lot of people that don't have the luxury of time that we've had. And it's so, for me at least, it's upsetting. And I was talking to a friend and they were like, well, it's just the system. I'm like, someone is in charge of the system. There are people that are in charge of making sure these things work okay. And when the citizens of the United States need their money back at a time of crisis, it shouldn't be this hard. It really shouldn't. And it was kind of just a weird thing. But she lost all that work for 2 weeks. And then recently ended up going back to her old job. But where she works, like I said, she teaches with kids that some of them have learning disabilities, or they might be on the spectrum a little bit. But they're thriving because education can't stop, as Sarah knows, I'm sure. So it's like you're on Zoom all the time, and it gets normal, I guess.
Yeah.
As much as I
Zoom videos of Sarah here. They've been coming up with I've been sworn that I can never release them, but singing songs to the kids and everything. But
it's hard. I imagine, like, what do you do to keep kids entertained through this, you know?
Yeah. And hard on parents too, which people forget, is the burden on parents of kids, you know.
Oh yeah, the parents too. You guys don't have any kids, do you?
We don't.
You don't? Yeah, Kate and I.
Dog is at the moment.
Yeah, we got our dog and we're cool with that.
Yeah.
But my friends with kids, because we're kind of the same age. I'm sure you guys have a lot of friends out there that have like a couple young kids, and they're just ripping their hair out.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, what do you do with that? And then like grandparents. I mean, we're fortunate to have my grandparents with us, but my grandfather's 96.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I mean, it's just weird because we can't go see them, and then teaching them Zoom and everything is like a whole different, but it's tough.
Is he in good spirits? How's he doing? At 96, he's probably thinking to himself, I've been through it all. I'm good. Don't worry about me.
Yeah, he's pretty good. And my grandmother too, she's 90. I don't know.
Man, what's the secret?
Dude, I don't know. My great grandmother lived to be like 101.
Wow.
102, I think. And there's actually going to be a special on PBS coming up about Asian Americans. And I guess my family is prominently featured on a couple sections because my grandmother has this wild story, if you want to hear it.
Yeah.
So I hope I get my facts straight. Long story short, her husband fought in the war, an Asian American fighting for the United States, and died of injury, left my great grandmother with 8 kids on her own. She was living in Portland, Maine at the time, and a little Asian stereotype. To survive, she started a laundromat. And she had all 8 kids working in the laundromat, and they ended up nominating her for Maine Mother of the Year. And then she ended up winning American Mother of the Year. Wow. And had lunch with the president and all this stuff. Her name was Toy Len Goon. And I was a little kid. I remember her, but she passed probably I couldn't have been older than 10 or 11. But she hung in there for a long time. And when you're a little kid and you hang with someone that's 100, I mean, you're like, it's just, you don't even know what you're looking at in a sense. And it's different now, seeing my grandparents get older and closer to that age. Yeah. It's wild. I mean, he's always stayed busy. And I think the hardest thing for him now, for anyone during this, is the isolation. Yeah. At least my parents or my uncle or my aunt would go up there once or twice a week and take him out. They need to go grocery shopping. And my grandfather likes Burger King, so they'd take him to Burger King. He liked getting a Whopper. And at 96, who the hell is going to tell him what he can and can't eat? So it's just kind of a weird thing, you know.
It is. But, what are your musician friends talking about all this? Because I mean, it's no secret. I think by now people know that there's, so many businesses have been hit hard, but for you guys, I mean, you make your living off going out to these bars, going out to these restaurants, playing these theaters. And for that not to be there, especially I think of like the young and upcoming musicians or maybe just starting out, it's going to be brutal.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anyone really knows what to think yet. Yeah. Like everyone is kind of in shell shock. Then there was like the great race to get streaming. I know guys, a buddy of mine is in a band called The Elevators, and he was telling me that they were on the short list to go tour with the Dirty Heads, which is a huge opportunity, and that's gone. I was looking at maybe doing a couple dates with Three Dog Night again, and that's gone. I had a show with Tower of Power that was scheduled that got pushed back to October. I don't know. I mean, adapting is kind of like a weird thing, because the stuff that sounds so strange and impossible before you have to do it, and then when you do it, it becomes like, it's strange how quickly things start to feel normal. Yeah. The scary part for me is I'm going to have to get used to working again. like now, I mean, I've never been scared of putting the time in. I enjoy it. I love what I do. There's some gigs that I'd rather not go do. But those are the gigs that help pay the bills a lot of times. So I think it's going to be almost harder to transition back into stuff. But everyone's scrambling to find a way, because we don't know when this is going to end, and we don't know. And I'm very fortunate in the sense that I work a lot in bars playing covers, but I've also really enjoyed creating original stuff. And for the guys that don't have like original material to sell, or they don't have any merch, all this stuff has been helping. But I think mostly musicians have just been generally shocked by how kind people have been. Yeah. I mean, I can, my buddies and myself, like I scratched my head. I didn't expect my streams to go as well as they did, at least my first couple. And that's when, for me, I said, if I'm going to do this, and this is going to be a viable model, because I'm not looking at just a Band-Aid for a month anymore. I'm looking at like a complete change of venue for possibly a year. Like I need to figure out how to create something, whether it be content or a way to release the content that keeps people engaged for the long run. Because I think the challenge now is everyone who has a guitar or plays an instrument went live and made a few $100, and all they had to do was click a button and say, look at me. And now you see hundreds and thousands of people doing this, and it's just noise. Yeah. And for me, at least, if I'm going to stop and listen to a stream now, like the quality's going to be there. Same thing like a show. If you're going to walk down a street and there's musicians playing everywhere, what's going to be the show that captures your attention? So it's a hard thing. And I mean, for me at least, and I think a lot of guys, it's just, you stay busy, and the busier you stay, the less you freak out. Yeah. Because it's definitely a freak out moment when you're like I remember when the first gig got canceled, I was like, whatever. And then another gig got canceled. Then one of my rooms called, and they were like, all right, we're going to reduce music to 2 nights a week. But I'm still hanging in there as like I'm doing the booking, I'm playing gigs, get some shows. And then literally there was one day where every room called and was like, we're done, canceled, done. And I was like speechless. Yeah. And then you have, it's funny because when you work in this industry too, you have like people that try to help. They're like, have you ever thought about doing live stream? And I'm like, yeah, dude, like I thought about it, but just give me like a second to come around. Like I'm aware of the tools that we have. I mean, I don't know what this means for radio. Like it's the whole.
Yeah, not a great moment for a lot of our friends of in the radio business. I've seen layoffs and furloughs, and
yeah,
I think you just hope the furloughs come back and you find your footing at some point on the other side. But the good news is you have figured out the stream thing here, so that is good. You sound great on our end. You want to play another one for us?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to take a second to tune here because I care. That is true.
Yeah, that's not a Drew original. That is a. Who did I hear say that at a comment? I heard Chad Stokes do that during a dispatch. Said that during.
Oh, dude! If you've ever watched, there's an old video of him, I think playing the General, and it's like so good. Like it was just one of those moments where I feel like musicians kind of go through a lot of ebb and flows, and sometimes you capture them when they're like tapped in.
Yeah.
And I feel like this video captured him when he was like. Probably like just learning how to get into this song, and it's really, really cool. All right, I'm going to try this one for you if I can find.
Again, it's live from Drew's house here. Another edition. My name's Drew Moholland, alongside my wife, Sarah Conway, producer, guest host, all those things these days. Set designer as well.
I might have brought all my capos home with me. Well, I'm going to retune real quick and play a song that doesn't require a capo. Let's see.
While you're doing that, Jay, you mentioned Three Dog Night, too. That must have been quite an experience. You were playing some really cool theaters in the Midwest there.
Oh, it was a blast. And it's cool, like, they were all super nice guys, really complimentary. And it's nice to be able to, when you do a little run like that, to just, by the third night is when I kind of like felt like I found my stride, and then it was over,
Yeah.
So it's kind of a weird thing. But they're beasts. Like, I'm in the dressing room talking to them, and then it kind of dawns on, and then it kind of dawns on you, like, who you're talking to. And you're like, oh man, like these dudes like have some like iconic songs, and not just some, a lot of them. So it's kind of a heady thing for a second.
I think it was probably that last time you were on the show that you were going to play with them. Sarah and I were talking about it back here at the house, and we were like talking about all their hits. And that was a massive band then.
Dude, like the stuff they've lived through. When you think about, I mean, they were the first band, I think, before anyone to do a stadium tour.
Yeah.
So imagine back in the 60s coming up, and you're on this huge stadium tour. Like what a time. I mean, it's so normal now, but in a time where that didn't happen, it's kind of a crazy thing.
Did you get the stories that you were secretly on backstage, or?
Nothing really. It's, they've been doing it for so long. Like they were very nice. And we certainly had some time to talk and hang out. But, they go to their hotel rooms, and then someone drives them from their hotel room, and they roll up. They hang out for half an hour. They go out, do their show. And then after, they have a glass of wine, and that's it.
Huh.
It's not I've a couple times, most bands I've been with, like, there hasn't been too much of a party. A couple times there has been, and like one band brought me on their bus after, and like just pulled out like this big bag, and just like I walked off that bus, and I was like, oh man, like I need like an hour to just kind of come down, because it was that particular show was a long day, and like they like to drink beers and have fun.
I think I might go dig into your concert history and try to figure out what band that was.
Take a guess, man. All right, let's get back to some music here. All right. shame and they call it a test. When your head is so low that you're always at rest. And ain't it a shame when it's written in jest? Yeah, they rise when you fall and you fall with the rest. Yeah, they rise when you fall and you fall with the rest. When you walk with your shadow but you can't see the ground, and everyone knows but they don't make a sound. And when all of your love is too close to the vest, yeah, they rise when you fall and you fall with the rest. Yeah, they rise when you fall and you fall with the rest. I'll give a little while to see what comes and goes. Maybe it's something I'll never get to know. I've seen better times, I know. I've seen the angels, I've shaken their hands, I've been in their homes. Slow to burn, so I may be. I'm still burning to be free. Yeah, when the car is in drive but you run out of gas, and the road that you took is unable to pass, and when all of your love is too close to the chest, yeah, they rise when you fall and you fall with the rest. Yeah, they rise when you fall and you fall with the rest. Yeah, they rise when you fall and you fall with the rest.
All right. Nice. Psaros. Jay Psaros live at Drew's house here. Sounded fantastic over there.
It's that applause that we never get to hear anymore. Oh, man.
The biggest crowd that he's played in front of in weeks, I think, right?
I know, right? It's unbelievable. You guys are a hell of a lot more responsive than my dog, I'll tell you that.
And our dog has stayed mostly out of this. Our dogs have stayed mostly out of this so far, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed on that one.
How many dogs do you guys have?
Got two. Older guy who's pretty calm. Puppy is wild during these shows.
So we're thinking about getting a second dog, and we feel so guilty that the dog we have, Ruby, is not going to be like our one and only.
It's like clockwork. It's 2 weeks of jealousy from the older dog.
Yeah.
Kind of looks at you funny sometimes. What's this other dog doing here?
Yeah, like who's this one?
It's true. And I had heard 2 weeks too. People are like, after a couple of weeks, they'll be good. Literally within 2 weeks, they were best buds.
Really?
Yeah.
And you think it's been beneficial?
I love it. I have told Sarah I don't think I'll ever not want 2 dogs because I think it's so great.
Because on the flip side, we feel bad. I mean, now we're home, so we don't feel bad, but like, and our schedule was pretty different where I'd be working from home most of the day and she'd be gone. And then when she comes home, I go out to gigs, but we feel bad too when she does have to be alone. I'm like, man, it'd be great if she had another dog to play with her. And,
yeah.
But I mean, we're obsessed.
Yeah, we are too. They make this a lot easier, don't they?
Dude, imagine being single and without an animal during this.
Yeah.
Like, oh my, like what's the Tinder world look like right now?
Did you see the guy who's trying to do, I don't know if it's like Tinder dates or whatever, but like they have like live stream dating. He's trying to date a girl from every state. Zoom dating?
Yeah,
I guess it's Zoom dating. Speed Zoom dating, I guess.
Like, what's the point? Like, I think back, I'm like, man, if I was like 20 years old and living in this crazy world, and chances, I mean, we're young, but if you're even younger, there's less chance of getting infected or whatever. But like, would you go out and meet someone right now? Like, No? If you were just sitting in, it's your first apartment, you got a little studio apartment that you're sitting in and it's just you and you're single and normally you're going out with your boys and life is awesome. But then all of a sudden this happens and you're like, man, I can't see anyone, but you got this Tinder or OK Cupid staring at you every day. Like, what would you do? Like, I don't know. I might just say, I'll go out. Why not?
You're talking to the guy who's been yelling at high school kids for crossing the street in groups of like 10 on this show. Because we have so many high schoolers on the show here, like during the school season, like if, something happens great on the athletic fields or something, we'll have you in.
Yeah.
And, so like, I've been trying to tell all these kids, like, stop with the group stuff, 15 kids crossing the street with selfies. I don't know.
You know what drives me crazy is when you go to the grocery store. I mean, I've never talked about the grocery store so much, but it's like the only place that we can go. If people aren't wearing a mask, but then like so our grocery store, the one we go to, has one-way aisles now, so you can't cross. But the meat section isn't on a one-way. It's just like the big general corridor. So everything goes up and down, then you have the perimeter, right? Yeah. And the meat aisle is where the perimeter is. And so I was buying chicken the other day and everyone's crowding around. And then same thing with the produce section too, is there's always the people that need to look at it like super close.
Yeah.
And they pick it up. And I get it. Like normal circumstances, yeah. But it makes me want to scream at these people. I'm like, here's the deal. You stand 5 feet away. You take your best guess and you go for it. And what you get is what you get. Yep. And that's it. Like, I don't want, like, we're all touching the meat and touching the lettuce. And it's like, one thing, at least meat's wrapped, but lettuce is just unwrapped. And what you keep, are you going to sterilize it? Are you going to inject Clorox into this? Like, it's just ridiculous, dude. It makes me want to scream. I mean, I have a thing with people where people can kind of gross me out sometimes anyways. Yeah. Like if someone's like if they chew too loud or if just little things, I don't know. Maybe I'm nuts.
You must see some of the worst playing all these bars coming up some nights.
It's like, it's not even drunk people don't bother me. I mean, they do. Sometimes they do. But it's just like, it's the people that have no general awareness is like magnified during a time like this, because everyone who is super aware, it makes the people that like are aloof stand out even more. And
I had it happen to me at CBS the other day. Walked in, tried to get in and out because I needed something quick. One other person in the store with me, and this woman tries to return the item that she had already bought.
Oh my God.
The cashier is like, no, it's statewide rules right now. There's no returning of anything. And she was like fighting the cashier. So what do you mean there's no returning? She's like, ma'am, it's not us. Like, this is a statewide order. Nobody's taking any returns back.
Right.
I'm looking at her and she keeps arguing with this woman, and I'm behind her and I'm like, you know what? I was this close
to saying something.
Like, yeah. And I usually don't do that. Like, people work it out. I was like this close to like losing it and being like, you can never mind this poor cashier who's like putting herself in these like tough positions, dealing with all these people. Like, how about the cashiers that we've been taking for granted this whole time,
It's brutal, man. Like it makes me want to scream. It's like, do you not see what's like, I get it. I got yelled at because normally I've just been wearing my bandana and I forgot it the other day and I had to go to Staples or something. And it's like this 14-year-old kid working the cashier. And he's like, just for future reference, you need to wear a mask. And I was like kind of taken back by it first. Yeah. And like, I wanted to like, but then I was like, wait, all right, kid's right. Right.
You know what, 14-year-old, you're right on this.
You're right, man. Like your years of wisdom are clearly beyond me. But I try and avoid people. I am shocked by the amount of people that will walk right towards you.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like, yo, like, hey, like I'm not trying to be psycho about this whole thing here, but it's so easy. Let alone I see someone cough in public. I'm just like, but it is. That's the whole scary thing about this is we all could have, the three of us could have had this and never known. And until we figure out, and I think we could have had it and carry it and pass it, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, until there is an actual vaccine, I just don't see a way around this.
It's certainly going to make the concert game a little interesting. We'll see if people come back when that all clear is given someday. That's going to be glorious. But it'll be interesting to see if people are worried about it and what the new rules are.
Well, that's the other thing. It's like, I let's say a month from now, which is possible. They say, okay, bars can open up. You're going to be limited capacity. So right there, they're not going to have the economy to pay for stuff like music. Whatever, no big deal. 2 months down the line. But what about venues that hold 500 people? Yeah. Are they only going to be able to have people come in for 250 seats? Are they going to be jacking up ticket prices to make up for what they lost? Yeah. And I'm always leery of the government and definitely a conspiracy theorist. And this is the fact is, this is a real thing. People are dying from this, and that's serious. But where it came from and how it started is a whole thing that will keep me awake at night. And I don't know if you're into stuff like this, but have you heard about the 5G coronavirus conspiracy?
Yes.
It's like, and now people are burning cell towers, but it is suspicious that it started in China, 5G and coronavirus, and then they predicted it would go to Europe alongside 5G, and it did. And now it's here in the United States. And is this just some kind of like massive population control that they're trying to do? I mean, it's insane. I know it's all insanity, but is it though? Is it? Like if you have $800 bajillion and you're looking at the global, because there's evil out there. There are evil people that are like, let's control this because 2 acres on a nice farmland isn't run the world. Like, what do you when you're like, man, there's a lot of nice land. If we could only get rid of these poor people that can't afford upkeep or something. I don't know. I don't rule it all out.
When we're not here, you're not having these conversations in this room by yourself, are you?
No, there's lots of people with us right now, right? You see them all. My wife laughs at me, and my friends laugh at me too. But I mean, if nothing else, it's interesting to think about. But
that's the last song you just played. Just to I don't know if you heard Sarah over the applause, but she goes, "I love that song." That's one of my favorites too. That last one you just played.
Oh, thanks.
What's the last one?
I think I'm gonna call it "Rise When You Fall."
Rise When You Fall. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I heard you do that on the stream the other night, and I was like, "No, that's a keeper right there."
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I used to write a lot in
You've been
open
singing
stream.
this for a week, she said.
Without
Have you really?
now I need to learn the words.
Oh, it's cool because we got this space down. The next thing I think is to actually record it all properly. And one thing I will say about this is music and anything creative, when you start out, it's so pure and genuine. It's just like, I just want to play. I love writing. And then it evolves and you start working and it becomes a little bit of a business. And I haven't felt like this much of an artist since I first started, since I was just trying to put something together to get a bar gig.
Yeah.
And I think being put in a situation where with so much uncertainty, and having no backup plan. I don't have a formal education. I don't have a degree. I'm not scared to go paint a house or do whatever I got to do. I've done it before. I'll do it again. But in a situation like this where you literally can't, you're told you can't do anything and you're told you're not going to get help. It put me in a position where I haven't been in a long time, where I was like, man, I got to create. And I found myself after a day of doing something for an end result, just losing track of time and doing it because I loved it. And I didn't have to be somewhere at 5 p.m. or 9 p.m. and I didn't have something I had to do. And then all of a sudden, really this past week, I feel like I opened my eyes and I was like, oh man, it's been 40 something days.
Yeah.
And it hasn't felt that long. I mean, we're fortunate that we have stuff to do and a creative outlet. Imagine not having like a hobby or something you like or something that drives you to do something. I mean, I've probably been drinking more beer than I've ever.
Yeah. Going around, I think.
Yeah.
You can feel that you put yourself into these songs. That definitely comes across, which is probably one of the nicest things you can say about a songwriter is.
Oh, thanks, man.
And you want to take one more away here? Yeah,
I'm going to do a cover. I wanted to play a couple of the other new ones, but I don't have my capo. But I'm going to pay tribute to John Prine because we can't afford to be losing more guys like that. So. But you know what? I'm going to. Here we go. Hanging on a woman named after mother. My own man's another child that's grown old. If dreams were thunder, lightning desire, this old house would have burned a long time ago. Make me an angel, flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of the old old. Just give me one thing I can hold on to. Believing this living is just a harder way to go. I was a young girl, had me a cowboy. Weren't much to look at, just a free rampant man. But there was a long time, matter how I tried, the years just roll by, looking down, make me an angel, flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of the old old. Just give me one thing I can hold on to. Believing this living is just a harder way to go. There's flies in the kitchen, I can hear them buzzing around, and I ain't done nothing since I woke up today. How the hell can a person go to work in the morning, come home in the evening, nothing left to say? Make me an angel, flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of the old old. Just give me one thing I can hold on morning. To believe in this living is just a harder way to go. To believe in this living is just a hard way to go.
Beautiful.
Thank you, guys. R.I.P. Mr. John.
What a songwriter, huh? He was.
You know, he's one guy. He's been through so much, and for a second they seemed pretty positive about his prognosis. They were like, "Yeah, he's stable," and
that was a surprise, wasn't it?
it was, because he's like, how did he get it? Like, is he? I feel like he's the type of guy that if someone tells him he can't go out, he probably is like, maybe I will. I don't know. I have no idea. But I mean, he had throat cancer, lung cancer. I mean, a chunk of his neck removed, and that's why he was kind of.
And then came back and still sounded great and toured and.
Yeah, but then again, I mean, Petty, Petty's, I think we've had this conversation before, how he's just kind of like one of my favorites. And, you know, you see these guys in rock and roll that one by one, they kind of go to the wayside or whatever. And with Petty, I was like, well, at least we still got Tom. He's hanging in there. Because he was a young guy, 66 or something.
I still feel that loss. I every time I play him, which is very regularly, I think to myself, I still can't believe he's gone.
And, you know, for our generation, I think Tom's music is ingrained because we grew up in a time where he was one of the most popular artists. And his music was stuff that our parents loved. And then songs were coming out that he was writing when we were growing up. And I read somewhere, I don't think he actually had a #1 release until the past decade, if not less.
Is that right? Yeah.
It's in a lot of these guys too. There was someone else, these career artists that are just finally getting their due in their 60s and 70s. And it drives me crazy. I mean, I'm not into a lot of the music like that's coming out and popular today. What was the cowboy old Town Road. Like, how, at least, like, I look at music that might be that equivalent to our generation, right? Maybe Smash Mouth, you know, but like, here's a band that at least played together or tried to, and like, it's just some of the music in the 90s, I think, or even early 2000s was kind of the last great era of pop. Even you listen to old hip hop music and like, you listen to A Tribe Called Quest or some of the stuff, even the 90s, anything by Biggie, there's like melody to it. There's thought. I mean, the stuff now is, and I think about the whole culture, like the TikTok culture, how I was like, man, an Instagram story seems so weak compared to TikTok now, but it's literally over so fast. Like we're training this culture to appreciate 30 seconds, if that. And it makes me mad. It's like, I don't know. I mean, maybe we're just becoming the old people, but
I was thinking maybe we were starting to get that feel, but I mostly agree with everything you said. So I think it's probably, there is something to that. Like the Petty thing's amazing because, I mean, that guy's out there touring and playing to crowds before we were even born. I mean, it's not like he's a guy that, you know, is really anywhere close to our age. He passed away at, what was it, 60? He must have been mid-60s.
Yeah, I think he was 66 there.
Probably pushed it. 66, was it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's like talk about crossing generations. Like, that's what I think it's so impressive about all these guys. And still learning new music, too. Forget about that. Petty had released, 2 or 3 albums in the last at least 10 years. I mean, he was still writing and still touring, just firing on all cylinders, He was. And like the whole band said that, too. If you listen to interviews, like, man, the Heartbreakers were sounding better than they ever were. And it's kind of weird. It's kind of sad to see the Heartbreakers try and figure out what life is after the Heartbreakers. Yeah. And I know a lot of people don't want to see bands tour without, a front man, or especially someone like Tom Petty. But I think I would love to see Dave Grohl do a tour with them, or like Dave Grohl, Eddie Vedder, and Stevie Nicks. People that were, in a strange way, a part of the Heartbreakers' history. Like Dave Grohl playing drums on, I think, Honeybee on SNL for Tom Petty when their old drummer quit.
And then Eddie Vedder's done a lot of gigs with them, just kind of singing and stuff.
You know, did you see the Dave Grohl story on that where it was right as he was he was like deciding whether he was actually going to go forward with the Foo Fighters thing?
Yeah.
And Tom Petty just happens to call him and offers him the full-time drumming gig.
Oh, did he offer him the full-time gig?
So Dave Grohl is there, and I think he had time to think about it, called him back, and he was going to go forward with the Foo Fighters. He's going to go all in on it and commit to it. So he goes, so I'm there talking to Tom Petty, saying no to one of my idols to play in his band, and it literally felt like the longest hang-up ever, hanging up the phone. So I hang up the phone, and then I think to myself, I go, okay, this better work.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, Dave Grohl, like what a guy with a music history. And actually an interesting Nirvana thing. Did you see the Post Malone cover?
I didn't watch it yet. I see I almost clicked on it 3 times, but I'm going to set some time aside.
It will restore a little faith in everything that I just rambled on about, because Post Malone is someone I've never gotten into him, but it blows my mind to see someone like him that is so on the forefront of this trigger pull culture, I guess, pick up a guitar and play and sing and kill it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, like, I don't understand. I guess maybe that's because he's young. He's 25.
I'm not sure. I know he's caught me off guard with the Grammys. I was never into him either. And you just see this guy come, you're not going to confuse Post Malone for too many people with the tattoo thing. And he comes out and he had this like beautiful like voice. I forget what song he did, but I remember it was a Grammy show and he caught my attention and I said, wow, well, there's some talent there.
Yeah. It's weird to think about having all that talent and then being like, but you know what? Computers.
Yeah.
Like I'd be like, all right. It would be like, I'm trying to think of an analogy for it. It's like having the golden ticket and going to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but you're like, you know what? The little ice cream store across the street looks pretty rad. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. But teach their own, you know?
That is too funny. Did you do you have another one in your back pocket there? You want to play another one, or?
Yeah, you want me to play something out here? I'm pissed about this capo. I'm trying to think where it could have gone. I could have sworn coming down here today.
It's a big room.
It is, but I mean, there's not that much stuff in here. I've been
one thing I wanted to talk to you about too, while you think about that. One thing you did with the streaming that I haven't seen. This was talk about originality, which was great. You had a night where you played videos that had already been produced and that you've done whenever, over the years or recent months,
right,
and let people watch them, and then came in and like talked about them. And I think even answered some questions from people online. Like, that was a really cool idea.
Well, the whole thing that caused that idea was, again, freaking out about how sustainable is all this going to be. And I did a couple streams that I didn't, I tried to make the camera and the audio good and everything, but I was in a time of need where I really needed to make something happen. And I knew that it's at my point in a career, it's kind of a weird place because, I've amassed a small amount of real honest to God fans, people that I've never met. I don't know them. They just like my music. They support it. And I love that. And for something like that, I want to watch my words here, but like, I welcome that support. Where it gets a little strange is when you have friends and family who start contributing to stuff, because as an artist, you don't want people to help you out because they think you're a nice guy. You want people to support you because they enjoy what you're doing. So throughout this whole thing, I said, man, like, if I'm going to keep doing this and this is going to be my way of making a living, like, I really need to be sure that I'm offering something of quality to these people, because this is dwindling hard-earned money that people have that they are giving to me to keep creating and living as an artist. And it's living to be able to do what I do for a living is a luxury.
The keyboard reminded me, because you sat down at the piano and did a beautiful Atlantic City.
Yeah.
And a lot of rave reviews on. I was reading a lot of the comments, and People like that.
You know what? I'll do that. I'll do Atlantic City, but on guitar.
Sure. All right.
I really wish I had my cable here. This is one of those moments where you realize how much you rely on it.
It's funny to hear. It's one of the things I've really enjoyed about the stream versions is that people realize, like, a lot of times maybe you'll have some backup guitars, or maybe a band buddy helps you out and quickly tunes up or something. Even like superstars, like, they're used to having guitars brought to them and they're ready to go.
Oh yeah.
At home by yourself, it's like, this is actually what you have to do in between songs.
No, good luck, buddy. Good luck. All right, here we go.
Psaros here.
Well, they blew up the Chicken Man in Philly, and they blew up his house too. Down on the boardwalk, they're ready for a fight. Gonna see what them racket boys can do. Trouble busting in from out of state, and the D can't get no relief. We're gonna be rumble on the promenade. Gambling commission is hanging by the skin of his teeth. Everything dies, baby, that's a fact. Maybe everything that dies someday will come back. Put your makeup on, the hair up. Meet me tonight in Atlantic City. Well, I got me a job and I put my money away. I get the kind of debts that no honest man can. So I drew out what I had from that Central Trust, and I bought us 2 tickets on that Coast City bus. Everything dies, baby, that's a fact. Maybe everything that dies someday will come back. Put your makeup on, the hair up. Meet me tonight in Atlantic City. And our luck may have died, and our love may be cold, but with you forever I'll stay. Going out where the sand turn to gold. Put your stockings on, my gecko. Everything dies, baby, that's a fact. Maybe everything that dies someday will come back. Put your makeup on, the hair up. Meet me tonight in Atlantic City. Meet me tonight in Atlantic City. Meet me tonight in Atlantic City. Meet me tonight in Atlantic.
Nicely done.
Thank you, guys.
Psaros, live at Drew's house and live at his lovely sounding studio there, which is fantastic. You sound great there, Jay. We appreciate that.
Hey, thanks, man.
You probably remember. It's been a little while. Maybe you don't remember. He's one of my favorite artists, Bruce. And you guys have one thing in common. That's your songwriting. I love both of your songwriting, and you make me like think about every word. I don't know what it is about the songwriting style and just the way the voice comes across. Like I don't know. It's just, it does it for me. And I've always appreciated that about you. So.
Well, I appreciate that, man. And thanks so much for giving me a little opportunity to come on and blast it out over the interwebs and the radio station. It's really cool, and I'm grateful for that. So thank you.
Absolutely. 2 versions I want to point out to people. Go check out, somebody filmed it and they did a great job. Your version of, I think it was Whiskey in the Rain. Is that right? With Three Dog Night. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome YouTube produced video. And you did a version of Purple Rain that night, which got a great ovation. Those are 2 fun ones to look at. I love those videos for some reason.
I like them too, man. That was a good time. So.
That and anything, where can people find your music elsewhere? Just for this time through the pandemic?
Yeah, so I would say go to Facebook, facebook.com/Jay Psaros, JAYPSAROS music, Jay Psaros music. Or if you want to find me on my personal page, just drop the music and that's cool too. I'm on Instagram @Jay Psaros, and then my website, jaypsarosmusic.com.
Absolutely, man. Well, it's always a pleasure. I hope to see you in studio, but thank you for a little taste of live music. I could sit here and listen all day, to be honest with you, but.
Well, listen, man, when everything gets back up and running, I'll come up to Newburyport and, we'll do it proper again,
Awesome, man. Can't wait for that day. Be safe. Tell the wife hello, and thanks for everything, bud.
All right. Take it easy, guys. Thank you.
All right. We'll see you. All right. Jay Psaros right there. What a talented guy he is, huh, Sarah?
Yeah, that was great.
I literally could listen to him all day. He's one of those voices that just like, there's some artists you love, but it's kind of like, you watch for like an hour and you're like, okay, that's probably a good dose. But I could literally sit back and listen to him all day. He's just got that style. So Jay Psaros, what a talent. South Shore guy, maybe new to a lot of the North Shore listeners. We're, of course, North Shore people, and we don't get to go down to the South Shore clubs too often, but he's all around. So try to find him when this is all done. Jay Psaros, thank you, sir. Sarah Conway, thank you. Any final thoughts?
I don't think so.
It was kind of a long show.
It was, but it was good. But
I guess
it went by really fast.
It's going well. It's going well. Cheers. Stay safe, everybody. See you next time. Afternoon Drive, live from Drew's house. Bye-bye.